Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching SAMAA News. Here are today's headlines. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif held a telephone call with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to discuss the evolving regional situation and ongoing peace efforts. The Prime Minister thanked Iran for sending a delegation to Islamabad, describing the engagement as constructive, and shared updates from his recent talks with leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. He reiterated Pakistan's commitment to facilitating dialogue and promoting regional stability, while also acknowledging Iran's engagement with Field Marshal Asim Munir during his visit to Tehran. President Pezeshkian appreciated Pakistan's diplomatic efforts and expressed confidence that bilateral relations would continue to grow stronger. President Donald Trump has said that his representatives, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, will travel to Islamabad on Monday for fresh negotiations with Iran. However, U.S. media reports suggest that Vice President J.D. Vance is again expected to lead the U.S. delegation, despite Trump's earlier statement that he would skip the talks. Trump wrote in a social media post that failure to accept the proposed deal could lead to U.S. strikes on Iranian infrastructure, including power plants and bridges. He described the offer as fair and reasonable, but made clear that military options remain on the table. A key meeting on the situation in Iran was held in the Situation Room under the chairmanship of US President Donald Trump, focusing on evolving developments in the Middle East. US Vice President J.D. Vance was also present, having earlier led the American delegation in Islamabad talks and expected to spearhead upcoming negotiations. According to reports, discussions covered the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and ongoing diplomatic engagement with Iran. Meanwhile, security and other preparations have been completed in Islamabad ahead of the second round of US-Iran talks scheduled for Tuesday. Heavy police deployment and barbed wire were seen around the hotel in the capital's high-security red zone, where earlier negotiations were held. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has insisted that Iran will not give up its nuclear rights amid ongoing tensions with the United States. According to Iranian media, Pezeshkian questioned Washington's authority to restrict Iran's nuclear program, saying no justification has been provided. The remarks come as disagreements over nuclear issues continue between Tehran and Washington. Meanwhile, Iran's army chief, Amir Hatami, has said that the country's armed forces are committed to defend Iran's independence, territorial integrity, and security across land, air, and sea. He stated that the armed forces remain prepared to confront any enemy decisively, while continuing to develop military capabilities. He said that Iranian forces are guided by a spirit of sacrifice and jihad. On the other hand, Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakir Ghalibaf, says his country's approach to the US is based on a commitment-for-commitment framework, where each side responds step by step. In an interview, he said that matters related to Hezbollah and Iran's frozen assets must be resolved before any formal engagement moves forward. Earlier, Ghalibaf said Tehran is open to negotiations with the United States, but does not trust Washington, terming talks as just one part of a broader strategy. In an interview, Ghalibaf said Iran is pursuing its objectives on three fronts: diplomacy, military strength, and public support, while emphasizing that negotiations alone are not sufficient. He added that some progress has been made in talks with the US, but significant gaps remain between the two sides. Former US Vice President Kamala Harris said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed President Donald Trump into a war with Iran, arguing the conflict was not in the interest of the American public. Speaking at a political event, Harris said Trump entered a war and he got pulled into it by Netanyahu, terming the conflict as one Americans did not want.
Meanwhile, Israeli forces said they have established a yellow line in southern Lebanon, similar to a military measure used in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military has said that over the past 24 hours, forces operating south of the so-called yellow line identified individuals it termed as terrorists who approached from the north in a manner that posed an immediate threat, calling it a violation of ceasefire understandings.
And at least 8 children were killed in a mass shooting in Shreveport, Louisiana, after what authorities described as a domestic dispute turned deadly. Police said at least 10 people were shot, with victims ranging in age from 1 to 14. 2 adult women survived the attack. Authorities believe some of the children are related to the suspect. The gunman fled the scene, carjacked a vehicle, and was later shot dead by police following a pursuit that extended into Bossier City.
That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.SAMAA.tv. Thank you for watching SAMAA News.